Everyone, and welcome to another tutorial from Unique Nails by Rubia. If you saw my last video, I did a tutorial on two things. I did a tutorial on the peel it off base coat, and I did a tutorial on the aquarium nail using a top tank method and a press on nail slash pop off method. I'm gonna do another tutorial today, kind of the same thing, but I'm gonna be using a nail tip instead of a full cover nail. So I wanted to be able to do like another two-in-one tutorial on the peel it off base coat. I did this before and I was not able to keep the video because it just wasn't right. So I had ended up deleting it. But this is the result of a tip and a peel it off base coat. So I'm gonna try to do this again. I'm not gonna do a full hand. I'm only going to do one because that is all that is necessary in order to do the tutorial. First, I want to let you guys know I've already prepped and put on what I need on my nails, and I'll let you guys know what I used. In order to do the peel it off base coat, you do not need to take the oil uh, off your nail. In other words, don't use any alcohol. That's very, very important because this peel it off base coat works with the oil in your nail as well as what you put on it. So I used an air dry base coat, which is it's just, I'm trying to see where I did with the jar. It's it's a thickener just to keep my nails protected while I do all of this. I have no idea what I did with the jar. Um, but that's all it is. You can use whatever you like. You can use a thin coat of acrylic. You can use a thin coat of polygel. You can use a thin coat of base coat, top coat, whatever you choose. Um, but you really should put something on to protect your nail. It's very, very important. I ended up with stress lines, um, and my nails are very thin and brittle from all the years of peeling and filing and all of that stuff without using anything to protect my nails. So I have learned to do that now, and it has been helping, so we're going to keep up with it. Okay, so I've got my protective coat on there. First thing I'm going to do is measure out the nail tip. The difference between using a press-on nail and a tip is because this is very flat, and this is the one I did with the nail tip. See that curve? Sorry. See the difference in the curve? This has hardly no curve at all. This has a very nice curve, and that's the difference. I'm thinking that this is gonna flow a whole lot better. And this is if you're doing it on yourself. Um, it'll be a lot flatter and you may be able to get a better flow than if you use a press on. But it still does the same. It still flows. It still looks really nice. I just want to be able to show you guys how to do both. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my peel it off base coat. Now, if you saw my other video, you already know this, but I will say it again. The thicker, hold on, let me say that again. The less you use, the harder it will be to pop it off. So if you want to put on a pair of press-on nails, for example, or even do your nails, but you don't want them to stay on for a long time, but you don't want them to pop off right away either, you use a thin coat. I think about 2 or 3 days it will last you if you use a thin coat. But if you're wanting to take them off right away, um, you should use a nice amount, which is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna use a very nice amount of this so that I don't have a hard time popping it off. You want to make sure that you get every little spot that you can without flooding the cuticle. I usually like to hold my finger down like this. It's good practice for when you're using acrylic or gel or anything like that. Um, it really does help so that you don't flood your cuticle. So I got a nice amount on there. Now the kind of peel off base coat that I'm using needs to be put in the UV lamp. They don't all have to be in the UV lamp. I just happened to buy this without really a lot of knowledge on which one is good, which one is not. Um, I do have a favorite brand, which is McCart. They are in no way paying me or sponsoring this video. This just happens to be what I bought. And I have no complaints um, about it so far. But I have seen a lot of people using peeled off base coats that don't need UV. And I think that's going to be the next thing that I try. So I'm kind of excited now to finish this up so I can buy another brand. Um, so this goes in the lamp for about 60 seconds. You want to make sure that it is cured. So I got a really nice coating on there, and that is on top of my other base coat that I use to keep from damaging my nail. So now that I did that, I'm gonna go ahead and, well, that is not the right size. I'm gonna size this up real quick. Okay, so I found the size that I want. I'm gonna take my base coat to adhere this nail. Now, you can use whatever you want. Whatever product you're using is fine. Some people like using base coat. Some people actually just go ahead and use the peel it off base coat to put the nail on. Some people use nail glue. Some people, I mean, everybody's different. Let me get my little trusty lamp out, my portable. This is better than trying to stick it in the lamp because um, you can flash cure and then put it in the lamp when you're done to get a complete cure. Use a thin coat of it if you do. Try to keep the filing down to a minimum because you don't want to take off the peel it off base coat. That's very, very important. Um, because if you take it off or if you don't have that outer barrier, it's going to be really hard to pop it off. So you don't want to do any of that. I usually don't file it until I have my second coat on because I want to keep that on there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take another layer of peel it off base coat and I'm going to put that on just to make sure that I'm covering everything and also to give it that evenness that I need between the nail tip and the nail. I'm not going to go all the way down. I did go all the way down last time when I did the press-on method, but you don't really need to. But I think just to keep it, you know what, I don't want to change anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go all the way down just so that we can keep the same routine. And again, it's good habit to, point your nail downward so that you're not flooding your cuticle. Okay. So I'm just going to put this in the lamp for the 60 seconds that I need it to. And now what I'm going to do is I can get rid of this because we don't need this anymore. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to prep this nail to put my top tank on. This time I usually use a long coffin. This time I'm gonna try it with a shorter coffin, which means the length, not the style of the nail. I want to see how we're gonna do with a shorter length. Now you can use whatever you want. If you've done this before and you have a certain shape of nail that you want to use, that's fine too. I've never used anything but coffin. I have seen people who use an almond nail. I've seen people who use a stiletto nail. I have not tried any of those yet. Um, I'm just now learning how to do the top tank, honestly, and that seems to be what works for me. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use, I'm gonna make sure that I'm using something that's, I'm gonna use this creamy white. Now again, use anything you like. You can use acrylic, you can use polygel, anything you like. For purposes of having this close by, I'm going to use my Milky White hard gel. And again, I'm using that point down method um, so that I do not flood my cuticle. You have to be very careful with whatever material you are using. I also want to make sure that um, I'm not putting on more of this than the peel it off base coat. Peel it off base coat is what is going to help us pop this nail off when we are ready to. This was actually a mix that I made on my own. I was doing I was trying to get a milky white for a project, and I ended up making this. So what you want to do is, if it's too thin, you just turn your nail upside down for just a couple of seconds to get it to form and be very smooth on the bottom. And once it's nice and smooth, you can put it in the lamp. Now remember, we did not file this at all. There really is no need to file if you're using uh, something that you can even out your top. That's why I suggest using gel, or you can even use a rubber-based gel. I've seen a lot of people use the rubber-based gel. I don't like using rubber-based gel because it's just too soft to file. Even when it's dry, it's very soft, and I am used to it being a little bit more stiffer than that. So I'm gonna go ahead and do another coat. I feel like I want to put another coat on here so that I have a nice base for when I get ready to put my tank on. If you're using acrylic, it's kind of a little different because You still want to be able to cover everything, but don't get too close to the side walls with the acrylic because it's going to be a pain in the butt to file it, and then you're going to end up taking off your peel it off base coat. So the best thing to do if you're using acrylic is kind of give yourself like a little bit of an outline so that you don't have to file. And then when you get ready to put your tank on, your tank is going to adhere to the peel it off base coat and not the acrylic. So we're going to put that in the lamp and we're done with that. Now you can make this as thick as you want. A lot of people say that they don't like to put it on thick because it will take away from the tank. That's not true. Once you get your surface ready, you're not going to press it down. The tank just sits on top. So it's not going to take away from your tank at all. So that's why I say you can make it as thick as you like. Some people like it thin, some people don't, depending on the material that you're using. I'm not going to put in any decoration on the inside of this one this time. If you see my samples, I put some foil in there, but I've already done that tutorial a few times, so we're not going to do that this time. So if you look, now it's nice and dry. I'm going to take a look at it and make sure that it's even. Okay, so now that we know that it's nice and even, I'm going to, this does have a little bit of a sticky layer because we're using gel. So I'm going to get a nice little wipe here. Now the last time I did this, I did not use any type of alcohol or anything on it. Because I'm trying to keep that moisture in my nail. But what I'm going to do, we're going to use it this time, but we're going to use it kind of sparingly. All you want to do is take that sticky layer off. So just be very gentle with it. A few quick strokes and it should be okay. Other than that, I do not use any type of alcohol or acetone or anything like that. Now it's nice and smooth. I think it's nice and smooth, but I'm going to gently buff this off just to make sure that there is no unevenness. Again, be very gentle with it, especially on the sides. I kind of take my file and go underneath. This way you're not taking off any of that good stuff that you need. You can pull your skin back just a little bit, give it a little pinch, and that is going to help you to file your sides down without taking away any of that security you need for your peel it off base coat. You don't want to cut this nail. Do not cut it until you can see how your tank is going to sit on the top. If you cut it, you may end up cutting off more than you should have. And then the aquarium nail is no longer any good. You'd have to start over because you cannot take away from that length. There's no way to put it back. Make sure that your shape is good. Then I'm just going to dust this away to make sure that I got it the way I want it. Okay, so I'm looking at the edges and I'm seeing that it's not exactly the way I want it. So I'm going to take a little bit more of this and I'm going to put that on there. And like I said, you can do this as much as you like. Use your own judgment on how thin or thick you want your base to be. And because this is kind of thin, I can kind of work with it a little better and get the base that I need. So that's all you have to do. If you're using polygel, obviously polygel is a lot thicker. So be very careful with the amount because once you put the polygel on there and it will start to spread on its own depending on the consistency and the brand. So be very careful when you're working with polygel on an aquarium nail because you don't want to make it too thick because then you're going to have to file it all down to make sure that you have the sidewalls and the cuticle smooth enough to put your tank on. Okay, since I still have this one, I'm just going to use this again. Remember, don't rub. Don't rub it. 'Cause you may take away some of that oil that you so desperately need when you get ready to pop this off. So you just want to give it a gentle wipe. And this time I'm just going to buff it instead of filing it. Big difference, guys. Big, big difference. Buffing it, you're using the smoother side and you're not using as much pressure, okay? Because all you're doing now is just double checking. Filing, you're using the more coarse side and you're taking away more. I tried to do my best with these little safety gloves, but it's not working for me. Okay, so I'm just buffing it. I think I like the way that came out. Again, you can pull that skin back so that you don't hurt yourself and just take it using the buffer and just do like that and you're good to go. Okay, so I'm gonna dust this off. I like the way it came out. Now before I put my UV resin on, we're gonna measure out our nail. Now some people like to put this all the way down to the cuticle. You can if you want. I do not do that for a few reasons. I feel like it might leak if there's no space in between to put your resin, and I'm not too good with that. Now see this is what I was talking about before. See how flat they are? So we don't want to use the short coffin. We are going to use a better coffin. I apologize, guys. I had to get up and close my door so that would minimize the noise. Okay, so I went ahead and got out a different brand of nail. It's still a coffin, but it's a little longer and it has a better arch. So I'm just gonna go ahead and measure this out. And since I don't like to put it all the way on the edge, I'm just checking it to make sure that, um, but that one is a little too big. You don't have to, um, have your top nail. You don't have to have it smaller if you don't want to. I'm just doing it the way I feel is best. So I'm trying to measure this to make sure that I can have a good tank on it. This one is still a little big to me. I don't like it when they're matching up like that. I just feel like I'm gonna end up uh, trying my hardest to get this thing to not leak. So I'm just taking a few different sizes. And again, like I said, this is at your discretion. If you feel like you can handle um, doing it like that, then that is fine. If you want to put it all the way down to the edge, and again, depending on the material, you might be able to do that. But um, this is just the way I feel it should be done. So I'm gonna get a clean brush again so that I can, okay. So here's my UV resin. It's actually starting to crystallize on me because I left it open all night, and it will crystallize a little bit if you do that. But it's still not too bad. It can still be used. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to, again, on that downward angle, and I'm just gonna take it and I'm just gonna go all the way down. And if you guys notice, I still have not cut this because I'm not ready to. I'm not going to cut it until I get that nail glue on. So I want to make sure that I get everything. So I'm just looking at it. Again, using that downward motion to keep from flooding my cuticle. And I'm just going to look at it real quick to make sure that I got all my sides covered. Please make sure you have everything covered. It will save you a lot of filing and guessing and all that later. I apologize if I put my materials in everybody's way and you can't see nothing. I've got my nail out that I'm going to use. I decided to go one size smaller than my actual nail because I want to make sure that there's no leaking. That is just my way. I have noticed that people that use acrylic don't have that issue. Like if they put it all the way to the edge, for some reason, whatever products or whatever they're using, for some reason it does not leak. Um, and all they do is one coat, and they put it all the way down to the edge, and pow, they're done. I have yet to figure out how they have done that. So I'm going to stick with what I know. Okay, so actually this is 2 sizes smaller. Yeah, because, yeah, that's okay though. I want to make sure that I can put this on without any issues. I'm very cautious when it comes to that. Now, usually I would just sit it on top like that. I want to see what kind of gap I have and all of that, which it's actually pretty good. I want to try something. I'm going to actually try to get something a little bigger. I just want to see if maybe I can go out of my comfort zone here just a little bit. I actually like that the tank is really big, but I don't like the fact that it is not giving me much space on the sides. We're gonna try this. I feel like the tank needs to be bigger, so we're gonna try this. Okay, so we're gonna go in with our second coat of resin or whatever you guys happen to be using. Now, if you're ready to put your tank on, you want this to be thin, very, very thin. The reason being is because you do not want to get anything inside the tank. Not yet, anyway. Okay. So I can see that I've covered everything. So I'm going to again use my portable pen, and I'm going to gently put this on here until I see where I want it. Now you can press just a little bit. Be careful that you don't press it too much because you do not want to take away from the tank that you are trying to create. Now I've used my little flash cure, and I actually like the way it came out. I know I have a little bit on the sides, and I'm going to take care of that in just a second. Now again, there's several things that you can do to cover your tank. I am actually going to be using polygel. I'm going to use a clear polygel. I usually use rhinestone glue, but I happen to be out of it at the moment, so this will do just as well. That'll be fine. You don't need a whole lot of it, just a tiny bit. The reason why I'm not using my UV resin to seal it up is because I'm afraid that I may get some inside, and because of the consistency, I don't want that to happen. So I'm just going to take a little bit like that and a little bit like this. This is all trial and error. I want you guys to know that. I am not perfect at doing this. Not at all. I do love doing it, and I've never had anything fail on me yet, so I'm kind of happy about that. So I'm gonna take another brush, dip it in my alcohol here. Of course, you know that you can use I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, you can use base coat as a slip solution. I don't know how many of you know about that, but that is also something else that you can do. So I'm trying to make sure that I get this um, where it needs to be. I don't want to flood anything, so I'm trying really hard to smooth this out as best as I can. This is not one of my best brushes, so I'm kind of using my finger um, to press on it to make sure that it doesn't get into that side wall too much or that it doesn't start to flood. And yes, polygel can flood. Once you start using it and it warms up, it will start to run. I don't care what kind it is. I don't care what consistency it is. Eventually, once it warms up, it will start to run. So I'm trying to not let that happen. Okay, so I think it's okay. I did get around those edges, and that was my main concern because I don't want it to leak. So I'm going to put that in the lamp. And now we can go back to using the UV resin. Because now I'm going to actually file it a little bit, and then I'm going to do an entire coating to make sure that our tank has no flaws. Now also, this is going to be a little sticky, but there's not a problem because now we've got everything on there. Put that back in there for just a little bit longer. I think actually I want to use my pen. I just feel like it will dry it quicker. I don't want this video to become longer than it should. I'm looking at my tank now, and I'm gonna tell you guys something. There's more glue in there than I wanted, which is why I did not want to use um, a bigger one. I shouldn't have pressed down on it too much, but the tank is still pretty big, so that's fine too. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we are going to take our UV resin or whatever material you decide to use. I'm going to do that downwards point again. And I'm going to go all around the sides here. I'm going to pull back that skin right there. I'm going to make sure that I can get every little spot covered. Very, very important, guys. So that we don't have... Now, I've got a little bit of fuzzies on here from my thing. And that's okay, because everything is going to get filed down. Okay? Using that point down method, I'm going to go over the entire nail. Okay? You want to make sure that nothing goes uncovered. And that also goes in the lamp for 60 seconds. While that is drying, I just want to let you guys know that I am going to be on Etsy. I'm very excited about that. I started to build my store yesterday. Um, there's not much in it right now. So what I'm going to be doing is every evening I will be adding product to my Etsy store. So I encourage you to go and look at that. Once I get everything up and running, which will probably be sometime tonight, I will add the link to my Facebook profile. And on my Facebook profile, you will also find all of my other links to my other websites and stores. I encourage you to go ahead and take a look at that. I also encourage you to follow, like, share on all my social media platforms so that I can keep creating content for you guys to see. If you see something that you think a friend might enjoy, please do share. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you like the content that you are watching. This will keep you up to date on everything that I post and all my videos, reels, tutorials, and inspirational videos. Feel free to comment, good or bad. I feel like we all have to accept criticism, but just be nice, be gentle. Okay, so we've got all of that done, and I'm kind of okay with this. what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my file, and I can tell right here that it went over just a little bit, but that's okay because we're using a bigger tank and we want to make sure that there was no leaking. So it can't always be perfect, but again, you can peel it, pull your skin back just a little bit using that second finger, and you can gently go in there and take off that excess. Just be very careful, very careful. Remember, the point of this video was the peel it off base coat, but I also wanted to show you guys how to do this with a nail tip. You're going to go in the back of the nail and you're going to smooth all that out. There's going to be a lot back there. Remember, that's from trying to use the poly gel. We did a whole lot, but all this can be cleaned up, so it's not a big deal. So I'm just going to take my file and I am going to file this entire thing. Notice I have not cut it yet. I don't want to cut it until the very end. I also use that um, as a foundation to put my glitter and stuff in. It makes it so much easier as well when you can just slide it in with that little tip on there. Be very careful around the cuticles and sidewalls. You do not want to file away all the work you just did, so be very careful. I kind of like to use the buffer down on my cuticle, also because I don't want to damage it. So very lightly go around the cuticle, and remember you have that peel it off base coat under there, so we don't want to file that away. Okay, and I'm gonna take my trusty rose duster, and I'm just gonna take a look. Now I feel like I need to do these edges a little bit more. I apologize, I did not cover my stuff. Okay, much better. If you're heavy-handed like I am, you really got to be careful on what you're filing, because you don't want to ruin that. But I'm gonna take my drill, if I can get it to turn on. Okay, and I have a little bit on here. I'm not good with telling you guys what they're called or anything, so I am very sorry. But it's a tiny little cone shaped, and I'm just gonna go in here and try to get these little areas that I wasn't able to get. I'm gonna push my cuticle back just a little bit to make sure that there isn't any unnecessary stuff in there. But again, I'm being very careful not to do it too much because I do not want to take away from that peel it off base coat. This is just to get it even. And this is also just to make sure that it's not built up on the skin. I think that's fine. Once you get used to these techniques, they do not take very long. And I just lost my file. So guess what? I'm going to take on another one. Okay. I want to make sure that my shape is okay. Um, it's easier to do the shape when it's flat, when your tip is flat. When you're using the press on nail method, it's very hard to do, but it's so much easier to do it with this. So I'm gonna go ahead and do my sides, make sure that they are shaped up real nice. And now what I'm gonna do is, since I have this in my hand, I'm just gonna try to file this down. You can cut it if you want to. Um, I'm not ready to do that, so I'm just trying to get me a little bit of a shape going here. Um, okay, so now what we're gonna do, we're gonna dust this off. If you want to, this is if you want to do it this way. If you want to, you can take that brush that you were using with the alcohol and you can go gently around just to make sure that you didn't gunk up the cuticle. Um, in my other video, if you saw it, I was using water, and water is fine, but you also don't want to get water underneath because you can get fungus. And I got a comment from a fellow nail technician, and she told me that using water is very dangerous because you can get a fungus underneath there if it happens to seep underneath the nail. So I don't think I'm gonna use water anymore. Um, just be cautious if you are using alcohol or anything else to clean the nail. Just be careful. Um, use it sparingly so that you don't get um, any anything underneath. Okay, so we've done that. Only thing now left to do is to check for leaking. And I just happen to have my syringe right here. It's already got a little bit of baby oil in it. So I'm just going to squeeze this and see if we did a good job. And look at that. No leaking. Absolutely no leaking. And that is really, really nice. So I'm not going to fill it. I'm not going to do anything to it. I just wanted you guys to get the basic how-to on this. But again, it's very simple. It's very easy. There's nothing to it. Um, just use your material at your discretion, whatever you decide to use. There's going to be a lot of trial and error. Um, but I like using the UV resin along with either a clear poly gel or a rhinestone glue to seal it up. Then I do the entire thing in a UV resin and it's good to go. There's nothing leaking, no problem. I even stepped out of my comfort zone and used a bigger chamber on the top. You're going to see a lot of these videos from me where I will actually do a complete set. Those will be my watch me work videos, and I will say that they will probably last for about an hour. So keep that in mind. I am going to try to get some editing software so that I can kind of speed up the parts that you guys don't need to see. Okay, so now we're going to do our second part of this video, which is to see if it will pop off the way it should. So what I'm going to do is I use cuticle oil. I know that some of these peel it off base coats come with their own um, oil removal, I guess I could say. But if you're on a budget and you don't, you can't get that, cuticle oil does just fine. You can uh, use as much of it as you choose. I like to use a whole lot of it because I want it to come off really well. And I'm just going to let that sit there for a second or two. Be careful what tool you use to pop this off with. I saw one video where she didn't use a tool at all. And that may be because she waited quite a bit of time before she popped it off. I'm guessing. But it also could be the brand of Peel It Off that she used. Don't know. But we're going to experiment with that as well so that we can try to see what works better. And I really don't like to use this kind, but I cannot find the other one that I usually use. I just want to make sure that the oil is getting in there. When I did this in the other video, it worked a whole lot better. I don't think I used enough, to be honest. Again, like I said, it is a trial and error, so this is the one. This is the one that I like to use because it has that scoop edge on the bottom. So let's see if it'll come off. I'm gonna try to be very, very careful. Okay, guys. It is not coming off like it did in the first video. So, oh, wait, nope, there it goes. So I just went all the way around and it loosened up really good. I think it takes, I'm going to say about a minute maybe. Because, yeah, it is starting to loosen up. And that's really all you're doing with this. Don't try to yank it or pull it. There's no need. You want to make sure that you can just pop it off the way. And I think I just did way too good of a job on gluing this down. But it is coming off. And like I said, it does take trial and error to see what method really works. So the other thing is because the tank is on there, I have a feeling that I'm pulling up the tank and not the nail. It's very strange. Okay, so far we know that the press-on method works better than this. So far. Okay, there it goes. So it's finally starting to, oh, there it is. It does take longer, okay, that we know. If you're popping this off and it hurts a little, that's not, don't keep trying to pull at it. Add the oil little by little and it will come off. But comparing the two videos, the pop-off method, for the pop-off method, using the press-on nail, there it goes. Using the press-on nail works better. There may be some things that I have to improve on, but the method does work. For sure, it was less painful. And then you can just wipe the excess cuticle oil off and it keeps your nail nice and smooth. I can still see my base coat on there, so that is a plus for me as well. So we're going to be doing more of these to see with using different things how it works. I'm going to do one with acrylic, and I'll probably do one with a poly gel. If you guys have any comments, any other methods that you would like to share with us, please do so. Support one another. We are all trying to make it in the small business world. Shop small businesses, guys. It really does help us out, and it helps you to save a little money. Um, I thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. If I could get it to stop. There it is. I'll see you guys in the next video.